All right, so Chiori, is she actually worth pulling? There's a lot I have to say about this character because there is so much to unpack here, and I'm going to be completely brutally honest about all of this. But yeah, let's jump right in. Here is my Chiori. She is not max level. She is only level 40 right now, but I promise you I have had a ton of playtime with a max level Chiori, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about this character. On one hand, she is really cool. She's definitely got some of the coolest basic attacks in the game. Like, look at these. They're super flashy, super nice. Even her charge attack looks really good. Kind of reminds me of Nilu's. And her skill is like Kaching. She teleports and she spawns these little turrets. That's basically what they are. It's basically just like a Yaimiko turret. But the cool thing about Chiori's turrets is if you have a Geo construct on the field, so I'll use my unbuilt Zhongli here as an example. If I put down a pillar and then put my Chiori back out and do it again, she spawns 2, which is really cool. And that's the main part of her kit that you're going to be using the most, is spawning these turrets and just dealing damage with those. That is her whole thing. But this is where she gets really confusing, and this is why I have really mixed thoughts about this character, because she wants to be on field, but she also wants to be off field. It's very bizarre the way her kit's set up, and she has split scaling, which if we know anything about split scaling, Dia has split scaling as well, and we all know how Dia turned out, so that's kind of a red flag, but you know, we'll see how that progresses. But the thing that's weird with her kit is when she's on field and you use her skill and you stay on field, she gets a Geo Infusion, which I will show you here. Boom, we do the skill. Now she's got a Geo Infusion. Pretty neat, right? So she wants to be on field with the Geo Infusion. But if you use her skill how it's basically intended to be used, which is where you use her skill and then you immediately press her skill again, and it switches her off field and then puts the next character on your team on field, she gives this Tapestry buff. And Tapestry is probably the strongest thing in Chiori's kit. It makes her turrets basically do the same damage of the initial hit of her skill up to 2 times. So it makes her turrets do significantly more damage. And this is where her kit starts to conflict, because to get the Tapestry buff, you have to switch her off field, which means you lose the Geo Infusion. And to get the Geo Infusion, you have to stay on field. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And the thing is, the Tapestry buff is way stronger than the Geo Infusion is. So to play Chiori as an on-field, your rotation looks really weird. You'd skill, switch off of her with her skill, and then switch back. You wouldn't have the Geo Infusion, but your clones will do way more damage. But this is still more efficient in terms of DPS than it would be to keep her on field with the Geo Infusion. It's such a weird thing, and it's a very clunky way of playing. And I don't really understand why her kit is like this. It's very confused and very conflicting and doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I guess you can maybe flex around a little bit and play her in different roles. You can play her as a main or a sub DPS, but she performs way better as a sub DPS than an on-field, which is really unfortunate because, again, she has some of the coolest animations in the game, without a doubt. Dual swords is awesome. But you're probably never realistically going to see these because you're probably going to use her as a sub DPS because that's what her kit is really good for. The only thing holding her back is the fact that you have to use her character switch skill to get the Tapestry buff. If you could get the Tapestry buff just by using her skill and not switching characters, she would be an incredible character. Truthfully, one of the best in the game because, I mean, she'd have the infusion, she would have the extra damage on her clones, and she would hit like a freight train. But she just can't because they limited her kit so much by locking the Tapestry buff behind the character switch. And I hate it so much because she's so cool. She could be amazing. She really could be. And another super unfortunate thing about Chiori is her C6 makes her a really good on-field, which is starting to look like a trend with a lot of these characters lately. I mean, Fiorina was the same way with her C6 making her a really good on-field, and Chiori's the same way. So if you really want to have her as like a really good made for on-fielding type character, C6 is basically what you have to do, which is really stupid. I wish this character just came without the tailor-made restriction. That would have made her a billion times better, but nonetheless, here we are. So to answer the question of if she's actually worth pulling for, I'm leaning more on the side of probably not, just because her kit is so convoluted and weird and conflicting. She's kind of weird and clunky to play on field if that's what you're going for. And she's Geo, so, you know, she's kind of a niche character just because of that. But obviously, at the end of the day, if you really like Chiori, then by all means, pull for her. You'll probably have a good time, and she can do some pretty serious damage when she's built correctly and max level and on a good team. And she has, like, the best disappointment face in the game. But for the people that only really care about meta, you know, doing Spiral Abyss and stuff like that, probably skip her, because I know Nuvalette and Kazuha's banners are coming up, and those characters are amazing for stuff like that. So if Chiori is not your cup of tea, then definitely skip her, because there are a ton of things going on with her kit that do not make any sense whatsoever. But yeah, that's Chiori. Let me know what you guys think of her in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.